Hey, good morning to everybody. Happy Monday. It's Daryl here. It's bright and freaking early, man. It's 3 a.m. here in Connecticut on the East Coast. Okay, the last couple days, I've had a hard time finding a story to talk about. This morning, that was not a problem. The first thing that I came across as I started looking at the news feeds, what was trending was Hunter Biden being pardoned by Joe Biden. Now, he made a promise that he was not going to pardon his son, but he made this whole statement. The link will be down below so you can read the statement about how he believes Hunter Biden is being unjustly prosecuted for the things he's done. He paid back. He didn't pay taxes for several years. This is basically the charges. He didn't pay taxes for several years, which are now paid. And he purchased a firearm, which he wasn't supposed to do, being a felon and being a addict. The way I understand it, those are the charges. All right, and so this is the reason I stay on Twitter. I cannot stand Twitter. It is just it's disgusting, really. You know, when I go on there, but I keep going. I keep my account on Twitter. I love Blue Sky. I'm on Blue Sky now. I'll put the link down below. I'm artist in recovery at Blue Sky at bsky.social. The reason I go on Twitter is to see what the conservatives, the Trumpers, are talking about. You know your enemy, basically. And they're freaking out over this. The stuff they're saying is just unbelievable. And I've got a few thoughts on this morning. One of the things they're saying on Twitter is now that Biden has pardoned his son Hunter, and liberals are cheering this like me, that when Trump pardons the January 6th defendants when he goes into office, that we can't say a word. And those are two completely, I'll get to that more in a second. This is the biggest thing why I think Hunter Biden, I think it's fine. I think it's great that his father pardoned him. I'm a recovering addict, 18 years recovering crack and heroin addict. And I've been clean and sober for over 18 years, since October 23rd of 2006. And I have done the exact same things that Hunter did. And I'll tell you about that in a second. And the police all knew about this. The Internal Revenue Service knew I didn't pay taxes for over 12 years. And I didn't get in a lick of trouble. There wasn't even a mention of prison to me. So people cannot say that Hunter Biden is being treated. He was being singled out. This is the biggest thing that sticks out to me. You have the Trumpers, like J.D. Vance. Let's talk about J.D. Vance. All upset about fentanyl coming into this country, about his mother. His mother is a recovering addict, is the way I understand it. And they're so upset about this, about Americans being poisoned. I've talked about this before, and this just shows their hypocrisy. When you're talking about millions or hundreds of thousands or millions of addicts in the United States, you can't, on one hand, talk about how you care so much about Americans being poisoned. But on the other hand, you want to prosecute a recovering addict for things he did, over a decade ago? Now that he's clean and sober and going back and prosecuting a recovering addict, you can't do that. That's hypocrisy. Every single, I know thousands of addicts through all the recovery programs I've been through the 13 more times in detox, through the hundreds of AA, NA meetings I've gone to. I know thousands of addicts, and every single one of them committed felonies on a daily basis. It's hypocritical just to go back and to want to go back and prosecute somebody for they did in the throes of addiction, in the throes of a disease. All right, this is just some of the stuff. I didn't pay taxes for over 12 years. I was working as a Teamster truck driver for 2 decades, and I didn't pay taxes for over 12 years. Not only that, my father left me a whole gun collection when he died. When I was 9 years old, my father died of brain cancer, and he left me a huge gun collection. Double barrel 12 gauge Antonio Zoli over and under shotgun, Mossberg 12 gauge slugger, 20 gauge Remington, a 41 Magnum, a 44 Magnum, a 357 Magnum, a 22 Ruger, all sorts of weapons. And pretty much every single one of them I traded on the streets to dealers for drugs. Almost every single one of these. And today, this is one of the things I feel this is one of the biggest things that I feel guilt about now. There's nothing I can do about this. I have no idea where these guns went. I'm relatively sure that some of them have been used in hideous crimes, and the fact that I took what my father bequeathed me when he passed away when I was 9 years old, and I took it and I traded it for drugs. I just picture the day I believe in heaven, I believe in God. The day I go to heaven and I have to face my father for this. That's the thing I feel the most guilty about. And then what these weapons are doing on the streets or have done on the streets. There's no way I can get these guns back. I have no idea. I don't even know the real names of the people I traded them to. I traded them in pawn shops. I traded them to actual drug dealers. And I did not get in a lick of trouble for any of this. And I've done things that are so much worse than this. This is what the disease of addiction does. I committed felonies on a daily basis. I committed felonies just by getting the drugs I needed every day, by purchasing those drugs. That's a felony. I started off the day committing felonies every single day. I've been clean and sober for 18 years, over 18 years now. You can't be concerned about these Americans being poisoned and then in the same breath want to go back and charge Hunter Biden for something he did in the disease of addiction while he was under the throes of addiction a decade ago. That's hypocritical. Now, one more thing I want to talk about. On Twitter, the Trumpers are all talking about January 6th. And I actually read this. I'll put the links down below if I can find them again. They talked about January 6th, and this is the most obscene, disgusting description of January 6th I've ever heard. One of these Trumpers on Twitter called it a police escorted tour of the Capitol, and they were serious. It wasn't being facetious or sarcastic. And they compare that, how these people are in prison and how Donald Trump wants to pardon them. They tried to overthrow an American presidential election. There's been no proof. There never was any proof that Donald Trump won the election. And he should be in jail for this. Trying to overthrow the U.S. government, and not only that, but the vote of the United States people. Compared to an addict, committing not paying his taxes. I mean, you're talking apples and oranges in a big way here. That's just comparing these two is ridiculous. These are just some of my beginning thoughts. I had to get out here and talk about this. Like I said, I've done things on a daily basis back when I was using that are 100 times worse than what Hunter Biden's accused of, and I never got in a lick of trouble for it. And the police knew about it. The IRS knew about it. By the way, once I was about 2 or 3 years clean, I went back and I paid back all my taxes, all my credit card bills, all the bank loans that I defaulted on, everybody I screwed over, all the way down to I even a liquor store owner that I owed $20 to. I went back and paid him. I walked in there about 6 years clean and sober. And I said, do you remember me borrowing $20? I walked in and I asked to front some booze, and he let me take it on credit, and I never paid him for it. And I remembered it. And he said, "Oh, you don't have to worry about that. You don't have to do that." But in my heart, I knew, he knew he was owed $20, and I knew he was owed $20, and I paid him the $20. I paid back. That's I think it's like step 8 where you start making amends for all your wrongs, all the wrongs that you've done to people. And Hunter Biden has done that, and he's clean and sober. You can't be concerned about all the addicts, all the people being poisoned in the United States right now. You can't talk about them and care about them on one hand, but talk about going back and prosecuting Hunter Biden for these crimes committed in the throes of addiction on the other hand. It's hypocrisy. All right, I'll be back later. I will talk about this. This is just off the top of my head this morning. I'll be back later with more thoughts on this. Have a good Monday.